Hey everybody, and welcome to Project Premium Harvest. My name is Matt. In today's video, we're going to be going over the Roundhill weekly pairs of XDTE, QDTE, RDTE, and lastly, YBTC. We're going to be talking about their distribution payments. We're going to do a fund analysis. We're going to do a comparison if you invested at the inception price versus if you invested at the all-time high, if you're still going to be net positive on your investment. We're going to talk about all of those things, but first thing I like to talk about is my account value. With that being said, the account is valued at $89,231.38. My account has been taking a beating since his April 2nd tariff talk, and I'm assuming everybody's account is going to be taking the same beating. If you are not taking a beating, you're a lot better trader than 99.9% of all investors out there. But the reason why I like to show my account value is I want to show transparency as a YouTuber. I hate it when I am watching a channel and nobody ever shows their account portfolio. So you get that out the way. There it is. Now let's go to the spreadsheets and talk about why you're actually here. Starting it off with RDTE, the inception price for RDTE was $45 and the all-time high crested a little bit past that point to that $45.65. The April 4th distribution payment is going to be 32 cents, and that's usually on par with what RDT pays out. It's somewhere between like that 20 to 32 cent range, and the current share price is trading at that $32.89 range. Just doing a quick comparison between the inception price and the current trading price of RDTE, there is a little bit of a downward trend, but now let's take a look at the full picture of this fund. Speaking of when this fund was incepted, it was incepted back September 27th, 2024, and the total premium payment that has been paid out since that fund has been incepted is $8.23 a share, and there has been 28 payments since then. So it's been over 6 months since this fund has been out, and this is the performance. The average distribution for this fund is about 29 cents per share, and it is a weekly pair. So you multiply that by, four payments, or sometimes these Roundhills have 5 payments. So you're averaging about $1.20 to $1.50 per month, which is pretty good. If you look at the share price change in value since the inception, so we're taking this $32.89, subtracting it into this $45, and then dividing it by 45. And that's how we come up with this percentage of negative 26.91% of performance. So looking at that just as a raw statistic, it's not doing too good. But if we throw in the total premium, it does make it look a little bit better, but it's still a negative number at negative 8.62%. And the all-time high was slightly higher than the inception price, so the numbers are going to look a little bit worse. All-time high value, negative 27.95%. And then if we throw in the distribution payment in addition to that share price, it's negative 9.92%. So this fund, I am invested into it about $60,000, and I'm not liking how it hasn't produced a net positive. However, I do think when the markets turn around, it will regain some of this value. Therefore, I'm not too worried about it. The last data point here, the average share price for this fund is about $41.44. All right, moving over to one of my favorites, XDTE. The XDTE incepted at that $52 strike price, and then the all-time high is $53.57. This fund is going to pay out on April 4th, and the distribution is going to be 27 cents, which is quite nice. The current share price is trading around $43.07. This fund has been incepted in March 28th, 2024, and the total premium paid out since this fund has been incepted is about $13.60, and it has paid out 54 times. The average distribution is about 25 cents a share. And if you look at the share price change in value since inception, so we're taking that $52, it's negative 17.17%. So negative number is never a good thing, but let's throw in that total premium to come up with the total return. So that ends up being, if you take into consideration the premium and the share price, it's actually positive 8.99%. I like that. If we look at the share price change in value with the all-time high numbers, they look a little bit worse, but it's still a positive number if we look at total return. Negative 20.19%, and the total return is positive 5.79. So regardless of when you invested in this fund, you are still net positive, so that is a good thing. And if you look at the average share price, it's about $51.12. Now moving over to QDTE. But we are at QDTE now. So QDTE, the inception price was $45 a share and the all-time high was $45.98. The April 4th distribution payment is going to be 25 cents and the current share price is trading at that $32.99 range. Scrolling down to the total premium, since this fund has been incepted since March 28th, 2024, it has paid out $16.23, which is leading the initial YieldMax funds of RDTE, XDTE, and QDTE. It has paid out 54 times and the average distribution is about 30 cents a share. If you look at the share price change in value since the inception, so we're taking that $45 and running the numbers from that last year, you're negative 26.99%. But if we throw in the total premium in addition to that share price, you're positive 9.38%. So you're doing pretty good in that front. But if you look at the share price change in value with the all-time high, it's a little bit worse. You're negative 28% just looking at the share price and not even considering distribution. But once we throw that distribution in there, you're positive 7.05%. Quite nice. The average share price is $41.98. All right, now let's go over YBTC. So the inception price for YBTC was $50 a share and the all-time high was $55.52. The April 4th distribution is going to be 28 cents a share and the current trading price is $39.13. Since this fund has been incepted back in January of 2024, it has paid out $28.44 in distributions. And if we look at the number of distributions, it used to be a monthly payer and then now it is a weekly payer, but it has paid out 26 times and the average distribution is about $1.09 a share. If we look at the share price change in value since the inception, it's negative 21.74%. And then if we look at that as a total return, right, throwing that premium in there in addition to that share price, we are positive 35.14%, which outperformed the S&P 500 if you looked at it in the last year. But if you looked at Bitcoin itself, it way outperformed that. If we look at the share price change in value at the all-time high, it's negative 29.52%. And then if we throw in the total premium in addition to that share price, it's positive 21.71%. So even if you invest it at the absolute worst time, you would still be making money off of this fund, which is what we want to see. The average share price is about $47.57. So that wraps up the unbiased data. It is what it is. Now let's go to my Robinhood and I'll give you my final words. All right, guys. So here are my final thoughts about what we have just observed. The clear winner here is QDTE with this performance for the inception price and the all-time high numbers. XDTE is definitely place number 2. And then RDTE has just been getting hammered lately and it hasn't ever turned positive yet, but it is what it is. YBTC is paying out a nominal distribution. I like that it's a weekly payer and I definitely have bought a little bit into my Roth IRA, which I just funded, the max $7,000 this year. And so I kind of have a split between my Roth with YBTC and msty. And then what I plan on doing with some of the distributions, I plan on doing like a 50-50 strategy where I reinvest 50% of the distributions if it's below my cost basis, and the rest I'm just buying SCHC and planning that Roth as a long-term. So hopefully the goal is that eventually I will make the money back for that msty and the YBTC investment. Once I get that same value in SCHD, then everything else is gravy, but I kind of wanted another mechanism that's going to continue paying me over and over again, so I can help grow my SCHD a little bit faster. This fund or this channel focuses mostly on like the high dividend stuff, but I am taking care of my long-term progression. So I'm maxing out my 401k, maxing out my Roth IRA, maxing out HSA. So long-term, I am set with just doing the typical normal, whatever the normal YouTubers do for long-term wealth. But this channel is specifically dedicated for how can we squeeze in a little bit of extra income on the side. So just throwing that out there and trying to just be creative with how to make more money in a relatively safe way. But yeah, guys, that wraps up the video. Hopefully you learned something interesting. Hopefully some ideas were flowing. Hopefully you decide that either these investments are for you or not for you. Hope you're doing well out there. See you at the next video. Matt out.